been good to me, preserved my youth. Not only did it capture my goals, it told me the truth.
Conversate for a few, cause in a few
I let them know we missing you. The love is unconditional.
Wave your hands across the land if we family.
We got a world premiere right here, now get lost.
So off we go, let the trumpets blow. And hold on, because the driver of the mission is a pro.
All right, another episode of conVersate with Us Radio. Remember, conVersate stands for communicate, converse, and relate. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook at conVersate with Us. Subscribe to the YouTube, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. We're also on Apple Podcasts and we're on Spotify. So there's multiple ways for you to listen to the show. Make sure you let everybody know about what we're doing, spotlighting different things about Black culture, bringing positivity to the community. So on this show, we're going to talk about The Best Man, the final chapter. So I got a bunch of my friends to come on to talk about it. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So going around the horn, we do ladies first. We'll go with the home team out of Missouri, Serenity. What's going on?
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. And out of Georgia, we got LC. LC, what's up with you?
Hi, everyone.
All right. And also in Georgia, we got Stacy. Stacy, how you doing?
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And having my back, so make sure y'all don't jump on me and team up on me, because I know y'all going to disagree with some of my opinions. I got my brother Joe out of Philly. Joe, what's up with you, man?
How you doing, good brother? I'm good.
All right. So, The Best Man, final chapters. I loved it. I'll be honest, I did not watch The Best Man Holiday. And the reason why I didn't watch The Best Man Holiday is because I am a softie. I'm a Pisces. I am sensitive and emotional. And all of you Negroes and your cousins got on Facebook and talked about how much y'all cried and how sad it made y'all. So I said, I'm not even going to sign up for that. But, when we started watching this, they showed clips of what happened. And I saw some YouTube just to piece some stuff together. I mean, I know what happened. I know Mia passed away from cancer, but I didn't see the nitty gritty. So there's probably some pieces that I may be missing, but I still think I'm able to talk about the series itself intelligently. But let's just start off by just going around the horn. Joe, what was your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts was they did the movie series justice. They did a great job with the TV series. It brought a lot of closure. It touched on a lot of topics, and it was very well done, in my opinion. Very well done.
Stacy?
I absolutely loved it. And I should admit, I'm obsessed with the whole series. So I've seen one, I've seen Holiday too many times to count, but I was very, very pleased with how they wrapped everything up. And I was very happy they gave us 8 episodes.
Yeah. LC?
I agree. I absolutely love the series. To look to see there was 8 episodes for about an hour each. It didn't feel like it. And I could have sat and watched 8 more episodes. They did an absolute great job. And I secretly hope that the way the storylines have developed through the movies and the series, that this could go on a couple of more series.
Yeah. Serenity?
I absolutely loved it. I told you off camera, I watched it 3 times. The third time was by accident. I was watching with a relative and she fell asleep, but I just kept watching it. It was very well done. At first, I was kind of confused on how they did the timeline.
And I had to go back. I was like, wait a minute, this said 2024, but then there was just a small snippet where they said 2015, and I missed it the first time. I was like, what's like that timeline threw me off at first, but I was with you on that.
Yeah, I was like kind of confused. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. And then when I watched it the second time, I was like, okay, I got where they went. It follows. You just got to pay attention to the beginning part and then how it fast forwards and goes backwards. So that's basically what he did with that. But I think it was very well done. I know this is supposed to be the last chapters, but I'm secretly as well wish that they would do some more. But it's kind of like the story's pretty much wrapped up, but it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility that they could do it. I didn't even know that this was in production. I mean, it just came out, and all of a sudden people were like, "Hey, it's on Peacock." I don't know, maybe that was just me, but I liked it. I loved it. I watched it all in one day, and I'm a fan of the series, even though, like I said, I didn't watch the second one. But I'm a fan of just what it stands for in terms of showing what I'll say the Black middle class, quasi upper middle class, and this really touched on a lot of issues that we confront as middle-aged people, aged couples, middle-aged individuals, raising children, health issues. I mean, they touched on it all. They touched on when they started, the hot flashes, dealing with the issues that your children are working through, and even the dynamics through marriage. It really hit on a lot of stuff that hit home for me. So, who was your favorite character, Stacey?
Jordan.
Why so?
I've always been able to relate to her, and it's odd because I can't relate to her with her awesome career, driven path, because I was a stay-at-home mom, but her personality. And I felt like she was a big part of the glue of the group, especially being the only female in the group of guys. It was very relatable. So Jordan was absolutely my favorite female character.
Favorite female character. Who's favorite male character?
Quentin.
I think Quentin's gonna be everybody's favorite character. I think, Quentin.
Absolutely. His realness, like he gives it to you straight. Straight, no chaser. And he'll throw a little humor on the end of it, but he meant what he said.
Yeah, I think Quentin might be most people's favorite character. LC, who was your favorite character? Who'd you relate to the most?
Character, Shelby.
Okay.
Yes.
Why so?
Yes. Because Shelby showed her vulnerability, and in the end, she did get what she wanted, right? And a lot of us struggle with being vulnerable with our feelings. We feel like we have this persona we have to live up to. We're living our lives the way maybe other people view us. And so Shelby, you can tell, and of course, the series never touched on it, but she had some other issues going on. And in the beginning, you can really see that, but she allowed herself to become vulnerable in this series. And so, not including the other movies, but in this series, she was absolutely my favorite character. She won in the end, and the first step was being vulnerable.
Gotcha. Serenity.
Shelby. I agree with LT. Shelby was my favorite character.
Did you relate to her? Did you relate to her at all?
Kinda, I guess you could say, they're getting older. She got the guy she wanted, that type of thing. So yeah. I don't want to get into, I'll let you do the part on getting into it, but I just like the transition of her character from the very beginning. Because remember, she was kind of like the that girl that they would just kind of didn't like per se, as far as the men.
Yes, she was snobby, had a bad, uptight personality.
Yeah, like they
domineering.
Right. They really didn't show her character in the movies, but in the series, you really got to see a different side of her. So that's why I really liked it. And as far as the male characters, I would say Quentin and Lance. Okay. Lance, I liked how they ended it for Lance too.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Joe, who was your favorite character? Who you relate to the most, man?
All right. Female Shelby, basically for what all the women said, her character grew, and they showed a different side of her. They showed her growth, and that she wasn't just one dimension like she was in the movies. So definitely her. As far as the men go, it was Merch. It was Merch. Merch was always played as the weak dude, the simp, and all that stuff, and they showed his growth and him coming into himself and understanding in himself and letting his people know, I'm not a punk. I'm a grown ass man. You gotta respect me. Yeah. And that's what I liked about Merch.
Yeah. I would say that the character who I related to the most, I'm not gonna say the one that I liked the most, but the one I related to the most is Harper. And I think a lot of people like to vilify Harper, which, you know, rightfully so in some regards. But I think how I related to him at his core was, even though deep down he was doing everything for himself, there was a piece of him that was doing it for the family as well. Now, he didn't recognize the damage he was doing to his friends, right? To his wife, while he was on the pursuit of building this. And what good does it do to build this legacy if you're tearing down everybody that you're supposedly building the legacy for, right? But I think as a Black man, I understand trying to find that balance, right? And trying to build a legacy and at the same time keep everyone else happy, and at the same time keep yourself happy as well. So I probably relate the most to Harper. Quentin and Shelby were my favorite characters. I really love to see how their relationship blossomed. I love to see how they communicated with one another, and then just how just they became a family. Both of them were flawed. I think that crap that Shelby pulled by not telling him that that was his baby for all those years, that was whack. And Harper called her out on it. Harper called her out on it, and they didn't like it, but he was right though. And when Quentin said he right, that was one of the funniest parts when they was making fun of Will Smith. He called it out. That was right. And y'all know me, I'm big on accountability for everybody. And I champion our sisters, but I think some of our sisters have a problem with accountability. And on that scene right there, that was apparent, not only for Shelby, but then I'm going to get into the next question. Who is your least favorite character? My least favorite character. I'm going to just get this one out the way. I think he's everybody's least favorite character. Demetrius, Terry Silver from Power. Every time he came on the screen, I cringed. I was like, this motherfucker, right? Like, why did they have him on here? That was the poorest. If they made one mistake, it was casting him as the love. I'm like, what happened with the brother on the island? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was a handsome dude. He had an interesting story. Like, they could have intertwined him in to get Nia Long deserved better than to have Terry Silver. She took an L last year. Emil Udoka did his thing, and then they gave her Demetrius, aka Terry Silver from Power, as her love interest. Horrible. But getting past that.
I was still trying to figure out, because it seemed like they said they knew him from college, but they really didn't act like they knew him. That's why I'm like, that part was kind of maybe like a plot hole there, because I'm just like,
I think he might have just been, you know several people from college, but like you have your crew, right? This really focused on their crew of friends, and he was just like an ancillary dude from campus. He was the dude, and he's supposed to be the one that had Nia Long stigmatized and all that. That boy doesn't look like he liked.
So shouldn't they have known? I'm with Serenity. Shouldn't they have known who he was if this is someone who broke her heart in college? For them to
They knew who he was, though. They knew he was, because remember when he showed up when her assistant surprised Nia and had Quentin and Harper at the bar. He showed up and he kind of made like a little sideways joke to him. They was like, "Oh, there you go again."
Okay.
So they knew each other. They just wasn't tight.
They didn't like him.
They didn't like him.
Yeah, I don't think
he was an outside. He was an outside.
Yeah, he was an outside. He was an outside. Yeah. But if we're talking about getting Demetrius out the way, because I'm pretty sure y'all may have a different person as a male person that got on your nerves. Robin got on my absolute last nerve. Wow. Now, I feel as if her and Harper both did stuff that contributed to the demise of their marriage, right? It's never one person is not always right, one person is not always wrong. But I felt like that little bullshit emotional relationship she had with the boy at the farmer's market, that was some BS, right? And okay, you get tired of your husband, him being distant, him not believing in you or whatever. But they totally glossed over when he said, well, you did this and then you ignored it. You did this and then you ignored it. We got a garden in the back you don't even tend to anymore, right? totally glossed over that. That matters. That matters when you a man and you trying to build a legacy. Like, we don't have money just to be just dropping on these little endeavors that you're going to forget about in a couple of months. And then you want to split, right? Okay, people grow apart. You take your baby to Africa.
Yeah.
All the way to Africa, and then expect that man not to fight for his baby. Now, had he not fought for his baby, then they'd be like, oh, he ain't shit as a daddy. You know what I'm saying? So, like, she was foul to me. She was foul. She was the villain of the movie to me. And that might just be me. But Stacy, what you think? Who was your least favorite character?
I think you're my new best friend because I'm finding that it is a very unpopular opinion. But again, like I said, 1,000% Demetrius. I don't even understand why he was there. Awesome. But Robin, like, irked my soul a good part of the movie. Like, it started early on for me with her obsession yet fascination with the chef when they were at the wedding. Like, okay, great, you admire this woman, but she was like leaving her friends. She spent the day with her shopping. Then they're all at the rehearsal dinner. She gets up, she leaves the rehearsal. So she started then. And I saw her shift when she just stood up and jumped off the boat. Like, what the hell? And where did that go? So I felt like she was wishy-washy. Exactly what you just said. Like, I've supported everything you've wanted to do. And I thought it was completely unreasonable that she thought she could call her husband and say, buy a building, and he just do it sight unseen.
Because my thing was, I didn't know where that storyline was going, but I was like, you're going to call him, he's out of town. You want him to buy this building in New York, so you know it's pricey, sight unseen.
Sight unseen.
And I was like, they're going to do it. I was like, man, they're going to do it. And this dude done played her, and it's a hustle. Because it had all the makings of a hustle, right? Like, this young dude with this middle-aged woman, oh, my friend got this property, but you got to buy it right now. Who does that? Who doesn't do their due diligence? Who does that?
So that annoyed me. And if you look at that timeline, it's not like it was like weeks or months. It was days from when she called him, and he came home on New Year's Day and pissed off. And I'm like, that was so unrealistic to me. And I felt like, and again, Harper is not a perfect man. I love him, but he is not a perfect man. So for me in this series, it was Robin that just, and that whole taking the baby to Ghana, I cringed. Like, as a mother, as someone divorced, I didn't even want to be more than an hour from my ex-husband, so my kids weren't too far from him. That was the one thing we agreed. Until they're older, no one is leaving the state. So this is the same woman that didn't want to move 5 blocks from Harlem to a new house because she wanted to stay in her community. But you go pick up your baby and take her away from her dad.
Then you got the baby at the protest, which, okay, I can kind of understand, but then you wild out and get arrested. And then when that man said, hey, man, don't put my baby in that situation no more. Don't tell me what to do with my baby. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Anyway, Joe, least favorite character and why?
Least favorite character, it's a toss-up between the two we're talking about, Robin and Harper. I'm not going to front. They were flawed as hell, both of them. They were really flawed. They were really going through it. Unfortunately, that is kind of what real life is like when people are like going through it. And so they both had valid arguments, and they both did each other foul. She should not have gone to Ghana without that man's, consent. He should not have bought that house that he wanted, that she did not want to move to. He should have been more considerate about buying that big ass house. I know he wanted to build a legacy and all that stuff, but they should have compromised on a lot more things than they did. And if they would have come out a little better than they did. So it's a toss-up between those two. That, as a couple, it's those two. They just until the very end, they did each other dirty. the both of them. So
I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'm recently divorced, and those whole scenes with the marriage counselor and them taking one step forward and 3 steps back.
That's bad.
That was triggering as all get out for me.
Right.
I was just like, oh my God, like I've been here before.
Right.
I've been here before.
You think you're on one step. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off here.
No, go ahead, keep going, bro.
You think you're making progress. You think you're making steps forward, and then something happens, and now you're like 5 steps behind, just out the blue. And I mean, and it happened with both of them. That's what I'm saying. It was both of their fault. It was equal to me. But that's how life is. You know, you think you're doing good. You think you're doing what's best for you and your family while you're hurting your spouse, and vice versa. So, I can't say one was worse than the other.
That's a case study analysis for open communication and listening, because Harper was impressing upon, like, hey, this is what I want to do for us, even though but he wasn't reading her, he wasn't hearing her, right? But she also didn't communicate well at all, because it was like you get in front of the counselor, and then, well, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, and you blindside him. He's like, what? Where did that come from? So, I mean, we talked about, you know, stuff that they covered when you talk about being middle-aged, marriage, and things like that. Whoever wrote that and how Sanaa and Tay acted that out, they did a marvelous job. I know I'm not the only person that relates to that. Like, for real.
The writing was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it really was. Serenity, who did you dislike the most?
This might be an unpopular opinion, but well, one of them was Robin. And I know this as far as their relationship. When they were in the Caribbean, she was saying something about staying there. Then she switched and was like, you know, later she's talking about Ghana, and it's like, where do you want to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, she's kind of like, I that part where Harper busted her out and said basically she doesn't keep up with anything, and it's like, it's kind of true. Like, she, you know, when I watched, like I said, the second time everything started clicking, and I'm like, she said something about staying there, then later going to say someplace else. It's like, what you doing? You all over the place. Then it seemed like they were trying to go that direction as far as her having an affair with the produce dude. You know, remember even that part where he came to the house and he asked her about her necklace, and she was all, ooh, and you know, I was like, okay, what's gonna happen right here? I just knew they was gonna slide.
All he had to do was to ask. If he would have asked for it, she'd have got down in that cold ass house with that little ass boy. Trust me.
I thought they was gonna fix her hair. If he did this,
I thought the affair was about to be on scene. I thought, oh, they finna do it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I thought. Like, oh, they finna. And Candace was a little on my nerves too. How she was so obsessed with the plant-based stuff. It's like, okay, you're doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a little annoying. And just how she was treating Merch too. Like, she was acting like he didn't have no life outside of the family and what she wanted him to do. And then her character,
she took him for granted.
Okay, I didn't think about that, but that's basically seemed like what she was doing. And the way her character was from, remember, she was the stripper. Like, what now you just all conservative and doing your, you know, it's like it was a totally different person that we seen in the series versus when she first came on the scene. So I saw, and then like how she was so obsessed, I just didn't like that.
Yeah, I really, they showed some downsides to all of them, but I really thought they did a good job of showing how it goes both ways. Right. You know, it's not always the man's fault. And Candace, while I did appreciate her relationship with Merch in terms of how much he adored her and how much he wanted to protect her, right? And protect his children, and even how they hinted on having a child dealing with mental health issues and things of that nature. Remember, they were like, well, it's both, neither one of their kids wanted to go visit the other kids because it was too much for them. And I was like, I've seen that before. I've seen that 1,000 times before, right? And she took him for granted. and I think their whole friend group took it for granted. And I think if there's one piece that they didn't tie up was how they played Merch in that movie.
Yeah.
And Quentin told Harper, "You hurt Merch. You hurt him," and you never saw Harper make that right. We never saw Harper make that right. Now they made that just ran out of time. They couldn't put a bow on it, but I think that was something that they left off, because you don't do your friend like that. You just don't.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, LC, least favorite character?
So Robin became my least favorite only because she took the baby to Ghana. I wouldn't have done that. Up until that point, I didn't have a least favorite, right? I love the series because everything they showed really was a reflection of what really does happen, especially in their marriage. So they both contributed to the demise. And I try not to put my own personal experiences, meaning that I'm divorced, into my feelings. But you know, when he rattled off everything that he had already supported, I'm like, oh, you keeping score. That's the way I interpret it. That's the way I heard it. Oh, he's keeping score because he's gonna remind her about her failed, you know what I mean, activities. And yet I'm thinking, and so because I started to feel that way, I rewatched One and The Holiday between last night and today to go back to try to get more context as to Robin and Harper's relationship. And, you know, in One, first scene, when she's driving him to the airport, that first clip, he dismissed her feelings right then and there. And she didn't recognize it as a dismissal. And so I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of brought context a little bit to how he talked about, you know, moving to the house. She was like, I really don't want to. He wasn't listening. And I think the part, just the reason why it wasn't until she moved the baby to Ghana, that was the worst thing that she could have done. She really was going through her own metamorphosis and she was changing. He said in One, oh, she finally figured it out. That was a comment he made in the first movie. Oh, she did this and that, and she finally, you know, she got it. So it's like he knew he married a free spirit, per se, right? And in One, it was she was a chef. Now here we are in the series. She wants to do a restaurant, which to me seems like a culmination of being a chef. And he just wants to, in my opinion, keep a score of all the things he's done. If she could have said, well, wait a minute, when I first met you, you wrote this book, your friends beat you up. I mean, she could have done her own roll call and she did not. So I think it was just when she took the baby. I think Robin might have been looking for, this is just me, more I guess a stamp of approval, a stamp of acceptance that she wanted from Harper that maybe he hadn't given her. When, again, my reference to looking at the other movies and some of the conversations. And I said this before and I'll say it again. When she got that 2-month gig in Ghana and he didn't go, I knew then that they were going to divorce, because, and I said this, he couldn't give up at least 30 days of his time to support his wife in a way that she needed at that time. Because we all know if we've been married, what you need in year 1 may not be what you need in year 10. So again, she became my least favorite character because she moved the baby to Ghana, and I would not have moved that far, but I understand the complexity of in the struggle in the marriage.
I think that I see it a different way. I understand the keeping count, because that's never a good thing in a relationship. But it does matter when the things that you do, if we're trying to build a legacy for our family, and as a man, your job is to provide and protect. If I'm able to list off 3 endeavors that I supported you with, and you just walked away from, that matters. And then we're gonna forget about the fact that he just like, hey, like, did you just up the amount we're gonna donate to people? Right? She just did that on her own. She didn't talk to him. She didn't confer with him at all. And she was just like, oh yeah, we can afford it, right? That's not how it works. That's not how things work in a marriage. Especially,
and the restaurant was a pay if you can.
Right.
It was a community.
Yeah. Pay if you can.
So you got to pay that mortgage every month, but you don't have.
And I'm sure.
Yeah, so she was living in this ideal world,
was.
Right?
And he knew that
wasn't
was
based on reality. And I thought they was gonna make it.
I did too.
When it was like, well, I got the premiere. Well, I got to do this for the community project. Well, how about we do this and then I'll come here or whatever. And I was like, damn, they got it. Compromise.
Just showing up for each other.
But
yes, but
reality,
he didn't show up because he ain't going to Ghana for at least 30 days.
But reality set in, right?
I don't blame him.
Reality set in. Reality set in. And at this age, Joe, it's hard. I'm gonna speak for a man because I got a male perspective. It's hard for a man to change who he is at that age. It's hard. We can work on it. We could be. I mean, if we really want to do it, we can, right? Because I've done it. If you really want to do it,
so you say it's on the woman to man?
No, I can't speak for women. I mean, I think anybody at this age is hard for them, but I was speaking for men. It's hard. It's hard to change, especially when you don't see why he didn't see why he was missing it, why he was missing her. He was missing what made her tick, and they just grew apart. And then it just came together with that argument. I watched that argument scene like 80 times because it was funny. He was like, "You fake Kunta Kinte," and then she called him fake Clarence Thomas or whatever, and they were just going at each other. But I don't know, Joe, I'm off base, man, in terms of men being.
No, you're absolutely correct. It is hard to change. I'm gonna make this a little personal. My wife had been for like the past year saying to me, "Who are you? Who are you?" Because I've been the way I've been for so long. And I worked so hard to make some changes to make our relationship better. And she said it in a joking way, but she's actually serious because I am doing things and living my life now the way that I should have been. We've been together for 20 years. And I should have been doing this a long time ago. And now, jokingly, but she's serious, like, who are you? Why are you even home? What are you doing? Everybody's out. Why are you home with me? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? She's joking. She's surprised because I'm not completely different, but I've changed my ways a lot. And that's what it takes in a relationship. And as far as the show goes, again, I'm going back to my perspective of Harper. Harper, he was willing to make some changes, but he was also just asserting himself too much. I go back to the house. She didn't want that house. You should never make somebody move into a house that they do not want, because they're never going to be happy or comfortable there. But he made her move to that house she didn't want. She's wrong for taking her daughter to Ghana. She's wrong for that, period. So that's why I say that it's even to me. Like neither one of them is the actual bad guy or girl. They just were not on the same page anymore. And neither one of them wanted to change.
But even though she agreed, Joe, even though she came back with the final decision for the house when she read the excerpt of what he had started writing. She's like, for this, and if this is who you are, let's move into the house. You don't think that?
That would have come out that she didn't want to do, but she did it for him.
Yeah,
she did it for him.
She did it for him.
Not that big. That's too big. That's too big.
Yeah, that's too big. She did that. She did that just for him. That's it. Not for her.
That's why I had an issue when she's like, I didn't even want this house. Then why did you agree?
Right.
He didn't force her. He wanted it. He pushed his argument.
He didn't force her, but she did something for him that she did not want to do. Yes. That's what happened. A lot of times we do stuff in a relationship that we don't want to do, but we do it for that person, even though it's going against everything that we really want.
And then later,
that's support. And then later you regret it,
right?
Because you did something that you really didn't want to do. Period. And I think that's why she went to Ghana, because he was trying to make her not do something that she really wanted to do. She was still wrong for it, but I think that's why she did it.
You should have put that aside until that baby got to an age where she was off to college or whatever, and then went to Africa. But I think it shows.
So she put. Wait, no. Let me say this. So she's gonna put her dream aside for that baby was what 8, 9. So she put her dream aside for 10 more years or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's what we do as parents.
That's what you do as
parents.
That's what you do as parents.
That is what we do as parents.
That was a selfish move to me.
Do you know how many brothers? You know how many brothers I know personally that stayed in cities that they absolutely hate it because I'm not gonna leave my babies.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna leave them. So I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna work this job and do what I gotta do until I get them to where they're grown, and then I'll go live my life. It's got to be fair. But I think the thing about Harper, man, Harper needs to grow up a lot too.
Yep.
He needs to grow up a lot, and I think you saw how a man matures. I always said, I just stopped being dumb as a man until I was about 38, 39.
Exactly.
38, 39 is when I finally became wise and said, okay, let me start doing things different. I mean, I was always, never unintelligent, but just doing dumb shit, right? Not doing the best, not looking at all perspectives. It didn't really hit me until I was like 38, 39. And for most of my guys, they'll tell you the same thing. We just take a lot longer to grow up. And I think you saw that with Quentin. And that's why I like Quentin so much, because he was always the jokester dude. He reminds me of one of my homeboys so much. You know what I mean? Just looks, the way he talks and everything. But finally it clicked for him, right? Because man, first of all, Nicole Ari Parker, fine is all get out. You know what I mean? I was like, God damn. And I was like, how they gonna do this for 8 episodes? This whole thing with her and Shelby, that's gonna get old. And she was hitting Shelby with some zingers. Like, hey, look, you're playing yourself. Like, would y'all, now, all y'all said y'all like Shelby. Y'all have done that when y'all have flown to that island.
I don't know.
Crash that wedding.
I don't know if I would have did all that.
Would you have done
I wouldn't
that?
have played myself. I wouldn't have put myself, if they had a situationship as they alluded to that we didn't know about at the beginning, of this for all these years, I would have tried to make my move before he left for this wedding. I wouldn't have flown out of the country, begged. I just thought I just thought she made herself look desperate.
Amara didn't have no friends, because most of the women I know had his side piece flown to try to do what Shelby did. A couple of cousins,
it would have been on.
aunties, and somebody to put some hands on that girl.
Yeah, it would have been on.
For real.
Right.
Put some hands on it.
Would have been on the phone saying somebody needs to get on down here.
Somebody needs to handle this.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was a nice gesture, but I don't think I would have did all that. I mean, I would have tried before he even got to the, because at the beginning of the scene, they had the scene where she confronted him about him getting married. She just didn't know who he was getting married to, remember?
Right.
So that'd be the time frame she should have been trying to stop something.
But again, we all talked about how we like Shelby. Mm-hmm. If we looked at all the women in the show, all the women did some foul stuff to certain degrees. Let's break it down.
Yeah.
Now, Candace, I just say Candace just had tunnel vision, and she started taking her husband for granted. And unfortunately, some real foul stuff happened to her. Stevie Wonder could see what that dirty ass professor was going to do to her, right? Yeah. But I don't think her stuff was as bad as the others. But let's go down the list. Shelby crashed that woman's wedding, slept with her fiance, right? Hid that baby from that man for 13 years, right? It wasn't until she finally got what she wanted that she wanted to start acting right. And then she, became the perfect daughter-in-law, like taking care of his dad, taking care of him and his health and all that stuff. But she did some foul stuff, right? And nobody's perfect. Let's just go down the list. Robin, we done dissected her, right? And then you got Jordan. You've been all up in this woman's. First of all, you was gonna smash them when they was fiancés, right?
They weren't engaged then.
They weren't engaged then.
They was together though.
They were together.
They were together.
Then, right?
Yep.
Then y'all make peace and y'all could hang out, y'all could be in each other's space, and then had not something else interrupted you to smash that woman's husband again.
Did you notice the difference? You notice the difference between the characters of like Robin and Jordan, how they were completely night and day. That's something that I noticed. As far as I think that
Jordan and Harper had more in common than Robin and Harper did.
A lot more in
Yeah,
common.
yeah. But I'm just saying, I just noticed in the contrast between the women, and I feel like maybe Harper wanted to stay with Robin because she was, different than him per se, like, the free spirit, that type of thing.
He said that in the first Best Man. He said, they said, you've been hiding her for 2 years. And he made a comment like, nope, drama free. Like, she is just totally different.
And how judgmental their group is.
Yeah, yep. She was totally different. And that's what he was attracted to. And probably more so, in my opinion, totally different, that she wouldn't challenge him. She supported everything. You could do it. Those are your friends. Remember the first movie? Go ahead, go forward. Then the second movie, go talk to Lance. Go. I mean, she was just, for the most part, all about Harper until, yes, she took the baby to Ghana, which was wrong. But
a lot before she took that baby to Ghana.
A lot happened.
You glossing over a whole bunch. You glossing over a whole bunch.
But the point is,
she's not addressing the Jaha, how she all up in that farmer's face with the mushrooms, and you're leaving out a whole lot.
The meaty and flavorful and all that stuff. Come on, now.
Yeah.
Come on.
But he liked Robin being different from him. He liked Harper like that. He did.
So there's one person that we really didn't talk about a whole lot, and it had a pretty big storyline. It was Lance.
Yeah.
I liked what they did with Lance. I kind of rolled my eyes for what they did with Lance at one point. But then as I thought about it, I said, okay, it was necessary. The way they showed him handling grief of losing his wife, and how some people just go different lanes, Addiction was real, and he became a sex addict, right? He was out there just wilding out. I really liked how they got him with the concierge, Jasmine, from the resort. First of all, she was beautiful. Second of all, I really thought that she brought that calming spirit that he needed to like bring him that peace, sort of like Mia used to do, because he, football player, hyper masculine, you know what I'm saying, aggressive. He's always aggressive with how he talks to his boys. He's always real like, what's up? This, that, and the other.
He was a man.
He's a man's man, right? Well, he's hyper aggressive, right? For real. And then when they had that boy walk in with the outfit, and they were, addressing the pronouns and how he wanted to represent himself, I knew something was going on when he was practicing the football, and he kind of gave his dad that look. Then when they took it there, at first I was like, damn, every show we gotta go here. Every show we gotta go here, right? Every show. But then as a father with children who, have different sexual orientations, they're trying to figure it out. I understood how it was good to show the ramifications of not listening to your kids, meeting them where they are at, not sacrificing your personal beliefs, right? But still loving them despite whatever choices they're making. And I personally did that with my children. They know they love no matter what. Now, don't ask me my opinion. I may disagree. You may not like my opinion, but you're still my child. I'm always love you, always welcome. And it took Lance almost meeting dire consequences with his baby to figure out, you know what? I gotta do something different. What was y'all thoughts when y'all saw that?
Ladies.
I kind of thought that was a little predictable. I liked how they put it in, but the way that it went was a little predictable for me, because we all know, Lance was very spiritual and religious, so we all automatically knew, like, oh, as soon as he find out, it's on. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be some stuff. But I did like that they put it in there, because it's like they're trying to tie in, we're dealing people more out with their sexuality now. So it makes sense that they had it in there, and just trying to show the dynamic between, especially in the Black community, between the father and son and what could happen there. But I mean, it was a little predictable for me. I like that they put it in, but I kind of knew what direction they were going before it got there.
I totally agree. It was good conversation in the series. Again, the series is reflective of what a lot of us go through in our lives, and so it was real. And like you said, Serenity, we knew the direction, we knew what the outcome was going to be, but I'm glad that they were sensitive enough to show the pain that both sides, right, feel during this particular time, because it's new. It's something that you haven't experienced in your family. And then also the dynamic of, yes, others will know. And they said it's not our story to tell. It is LJ's to tell his father. So I really appreciate the delicacy of the storyline. The writers were awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, like when Quentin walked in, and he was just like, yeah, y'all do what y'all got to do. You know what I mean? And I thought Murph was going to tell him when they was high. I said, "Yeah, Murph."
Yeah,
I think he almost
did.
He almost did. They caught him, right? They caught him. But yeah, I forgot about the whole religious piece. Lance is super religious as well.
He's very religious.
So all of those things wrapped into one, and then him being confronted with that right there. It's, and you're already dealing with grief. And then when LJ said, sometimes I wish it was you instead of mom, I said, hey.
I knew he was going to say that.
That was tough. That was tough.
I think it was really necessary, because that's just the world we live in now. That's just the world we live in now. So it was necessary. I'm glad it was Lance, because Lance is the most hyper masculine of the group. So I'm glad they did it with him. Of course, it was predictable because it's a TV show. But I'm definitely glad they did it, because, again, this is just reality. It's just the reality that we live in. So I'm glad they did it.
Yeah. I even appreciate, and again, predictable, yes, that he wasn't immediately accepting it on board, because I think with any situation, as you need a moment to process it. So, Jordan handled it great as his godmother, and I love, whatever, but you need to talk to your dad. I love that was the underlying theme. And Quentin said the same thing. Did you talk to your father? And LJ was like, about what? He's like, you need to talk to your dad.
Right.
But I appreciate, now Lance is a bit of a hypocrite, and I love Lance. He was very spiritual, but so you out here hoeing, laying out with anything allowed, but then you want to turn to Jesus, But, but even
he put the Bible aside for a hot second. That's all that was.
I love his transition, that Lance went back to who he was before Mia.
Yep.
Yep.
And Mia clearly was his grounding, his calm, his peace, which is why I love that he ended up with Jasmine.
Yep.
Because it went back to that. But even the way he handled LJ, he needed a minute. Like, I know LJ he's a kid, but I think it was unfair the way he even put his dad, like, you posted it on social media, you downstairs with a full face makeup and red lips and a wig, and your family, everybody's upstairs. Like, that was crazy to me.
Yeah.
And like he wanted to get caught, but then he was shocked by his dad's response. So the predictable, yes, you almost lost him. We were afraid he had, done something to harm himself. I felt like you knew Lance was going to come around, but it was fair for him to need a minute to process it. And I was annoyed with the friend, LJ's friend, with like not even addressing him to use the proper pronouns. It's like, give him a minute. This is a lot. But
he was like, who has brothers? And it was like, well, you know who he's talking about. Like, come on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that was a little much.
But I'm glad
that was a little much for me.
I'm glad that they hit upon it, because at first I rolled, and I was like, nah, this is necessary, because all of us are dealing with it. So like I said, I did, right? I'm glad they took it the lane that they did, and they just didn't say, okay, LJ likes men. They said, nah, he's non-binary. When he explained himself, he said, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like a man, sometimes I feel like a woman. The way they address the pronouns. Because if we're honest, a lot of us just don't have an understanding of it, right? It don't make
Right.
sense. And a lot of us are set in our ways and we're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Man, you know what? I'm just gonna call you by your name. I ain't doing all the pronoun stuff, whatever. And that's fair. That's fair.
Mhm.
But you have to really take a moment to try to understand, especially this new generation, they're different than us. They are. They just it's different. And I'm glad that they did it because maybe that'll push somebody to be more understanding with their child. Because the reality is a lot of those children, they do commit suicide.
Yep.
Yeah.
That could be it could be a tragic ending.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, they handled that. They handled that very, very well.
Very well.
That portion of it, they handled that very well.
I don't think they
So,
should be receiving any letters from anybody protesting how they handled that.
Not at all. Not at all. They handled
Yeah,
that.
not
They
at
handled
all.
that very well.
I thought
But
they.
I mean, they're going to, but you can't please everybody. But they should.
They shouldn't. They really shouldn't. At all.
What about Jordan?
I don't know.
What about her storyline?
Mm.
Jordan. Go ahead, ladies.
No,
No, you can go ahead.
yeah, you go ahead. Let's hear what the men have to say first about Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan was the same in all three the two movies and the show to me. It was basically the same. I didn't see a whole lot of growth in Jordan, honestly. I didn't really see it. He was always overly mobile. He was always, the go-getter and all that stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I just didn't pay enough attention. The whole relationship with the Terry Silver dude, whatever his name is in the show, I didn't that didn't move me at all. That didn't move me at all. The only thing about it was
they even gave Terry Silver. We call him Terry Silver because for those that didn't watch Power,
right.
He played an attorney on Power named Terry Silver. But they even gave that actor like a punk ass name too, Demetrius. Just the whole thing was just terrible.
Yeah.
It was just awful.
Yeah, that was hard.
And much respect to that brother. I'm sure his castmates and everybody loves him. He might be a wonderful guy. I don't want to diminish him too much, but
They could have got anybody. They could have got Nicole's husband. They could have let Boris go. Like I felt like
what was the point of introducing the shaman dude?
I wanted to
right.
They could have brought him back.
I wanted
to
to
bootleg
see
dude after that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Because the shaman got to come to New York. I would love to call you. And she said, I love that. And then we didn't see him again. Well, sometimes that's typical. You meet somebody, oh yeah, I'll give you a call. And then they don't. That's realistic. And then Jordan meeting Demetrius, where it's probably somebody that was a little familiar and maybe your friends don't like them. And everybody thinks that maybe they're not good enough for you. That's typical. That's reflective of what goes on. She's a career woman, going up the ladder, and she just put her career first. Because remember when she when they said, "Oh, you're going through menopause, which you may be pregnant," and then she found out that she wasn't, and she was like, "I just won't have it." I think that's reflective of what happens with a lot of women. So you're right.
How old are they? How old are they on this show?
They were like 45, 48-ish.
They said Lance's age when he I think they said he was 48.
Mm-hmm.
They said his age when he
did say he was 48.
When he unretired. Yeah, they said his age.
Yes.
So they're about 47, 48.
Right.
Yeah. Around there.
And they was dibbling dabbling at her being pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
They think it
happens. Which happens.
It does. I'm sure it does.
That's what I'm saying. That whole
they called that a
rainbow. I think that was like for dramatic effect because you didn't know if she banged Harper or not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that was. I think, and I love Jordan's. I feel like they just have her gliding through. Like her hair is on point. Her wardrobe is ridiculous. I hate that we've never seen her in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And so the last in the Best Man Holiday was that fine Antonio Sabato, and it was her. Like he wanted more, and she was like, "I don't need you." That type.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I hate that we never saw her in a healthy, loving relationship. Like she always put her career first. Which is why I know Malcolm Lee said he's done. He's like, I've told everything there is to tell. But there's a small part of me that would like to see her and Harper down the road once they've healed and moved on. Like, is
I have a
this
question.
What was that movie? What was that movie that they did? No, that was him and Sanaa. It wasn't him and
Yeah, Love and
brown
Basketball.
sugar?
yeah.
Brown
No,
sugar.
Brown
They could do
Sugar.
like
Yeah.
do like a little spinoff with those two or whatever. But
Yeah.
Joe, hold your train of thought. But don't we
I-
all know? Don't we all know a Jordan though?
Yes.
We all know a Jordan
Yep.
who is real cool with the fellas, right? She's real cool with the fellas, super successful, fine. But the one thing that they don't manage to get right is love and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We all know several people who would like that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I know a couple of them, and that's what I was gonna say. I think I was gonna ask the ladies: is she like really a real reflection of what's out there for Black women her age? Because I know women like that.
I definitely see it, especially living here in Atlanta. Like,
Okay.
I know some boss chicks. I mean, these women move like they could run the world, and they're single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some have never had children, and they say that's the one thing that's missing. Like, it wasn't really relatable for me years ago, but after living here, I'm like, y'all walking around bragging about driving this, Benz or Porsche or whatever. But you go to this big house and
nobody's there.
So I think that piece is realistic, but I feel like, I don't know. Is it the relationship with her wanting, I don't know. I love that she and Harper didn't end up together. And she said, I don't want to be your soft landing.
Well, technically, I really didn't get to put my 2 cents on Jordan yet, but that was true. She really didn't have a lot of growth from the first movie to now. And then they kind of insinuated that there might have been something there between Harper and her, because remember the part where he says something about being with his soulmate? He was doing when he's about to do the speech or whatever.
Yeah.
So he looked over at her. So they're trying to allude that they possibly could have,
and that was 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
I kind of think that was later. Again, for dramatic effect, when they showed him at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
That's why I said they're kind of leaving that door open where there's a possibility if they wanted to pick it up that they could be together.
Yeah, they could spin they could spin that storyline off if somebody wanted to pick it up. And I'm glad that she didn't just say, "Oh, okay, now you divorced, come be with me."
I agree.
Said, I'm not going to be your soft landing space. You need to go heal.
Right.
That's true.
You need to go fix your stuff, because that would.
I appreciated that.
That'd have been fairy tale, maybe fairy tale ending,
right?
But
not realistic.
It's not reality, and it would set a bad. It would give a bad message, in my personal opinion.
I also like that they addressed. He said, because I've heard other conversations with people. People's like, I think they actually slept together. No, they said that they've never actually slept together.
No, they didn't.
They did not.
Whatever time, even when they kissed, they were interrupted. The scratching record, the fight, when the other one, and now this time with the call from
Shelby.
Yeah.
But Merch told at one of the card games in, I think, the first movie, he told Harper, he said, this is the best relationship that you've never had. And it was Harper and Jordan. He said it was the best one. So, but a part of me doesn't want them to be together.
You know what? I think I'm gonna tell some of my business here. And maybe it's just me. But don't we all have that one person who is like, the chemistry is there, it's fire, something always happens to where y'all never take that next step. And at this age, you kind of wonder, like, damn, like, if we do this, will it mess up the friendship? Will it mess it up, or should we just take that plunge and finally try to be together? I know I got, some situations like that where we got close. We've never, went all the way. There's love there. We get along. We manage to always stay in touch. But it just never happens. And at some point, you sit there and you wonder, like, man, maybe are we better off at just being friends? That might be a thing for Harper and Jordan. I think, like you said,
no, absolutely. I definitely have a situation like that. Now, I think I've shared, even in other comments, he unfortunately passed away, but we had a pact that, all right, if this thing don't work out for both of us in our marriages when we're old and gray, and we were best friends. Like I get that Jordan Harper connection, that's your go-to person, but I think it absolutely happens.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was just gonna say I didn't like that they didn't have her be pregnant though. I wish that would have happened for her per se, because it was like, it's true, she pretty much had everything going career wise, but having a family, and then at that age, it's kind of like if she don't have one here pretty soon, it's a wrap.
I'm glad she wasn't pregnant, because she would have been pregnant by punk ass Demetrius. No. I didn't want that for her.
By Terry Silver.
Terry Silver.
Had Terry Silver's baby.
Terry Silver.
Terry Silver.
You know what I'm saying? Terry got Tasha and Nia Long. Before we wrap it up, man, I think we do got to talk about merch.
Yeah.
So you talked about characters not having growth. And at first, I kind of felt like Merch never really showed growth himself until the end, when he, started standing up for himself, standing up to say, hey, don't talk to my wife that way. He was doing the MMA, things of that nature. I respect Merch as a man because he's always there for his friends. He takes care of his babies. He was an excellent father, excellent husband as well, right? The storyline, him doing the MMA, I liked it. I mean, him doing like the Fight Club cage fighting or whatever. I mean, yeah, it's a TV show. Okay, all right. But I did like the growth that they finally showed with Merch. I didn't like that they didn't put a bow on that and make Harper make that right with Merch. I felt like that should have happened. They did kind of show, okay, Candace got that dirty ass professor. She came out, she blew the whistle on him, and that they kind of put a bow on that, but they never really showed Harper make that right. So while they had a good storyline, their couple, that they showed like some ups and downs between those two. I felt like they maybe could have did more, but they're kind of more like the ancillary couple for the storyline as well, even to a certain degree, Shelby and Quentin, because they showed a lot of growth with them. But obviously Harper and Robin are the key focus of the story. What do you think about Merch and his growth?
So I always feel like Merch is that low man that kind of gets forgotten about on the side. Everybody loves him. He's a good guy. I agree with Serenity. Candace was my other, not least favorite, but she annoyed me. From the bad wigs to the
horrible wigs. Horrible.
Okay.
I was so distracted by this.
All right. So let's address that. So I watched this on New Year's Eve. So people had a couple weeks to watch this before me, right? And everybody kept talking about how horrible her wigs are. It's distracting. Her wigs are horrible. When I was talking about reality and how they really show real life, you can't tell me that there ain't one of the fellas got that one wife, or y'all got that one homegirl who can't get it right when it comes to her hair, to her wig or whatever. That's reality.
Absolutely. But she addressed in an interview that they did that intentionally because she was always going through something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that
makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It absolutely makes
sense. I was like, everybody knows somebody like that.
Yes. Yeah. But my thing is, I love Merch, and I like that he was always the one. I felt like he was going to bring up the rear. I personally thought he was too hard on Harper with the whole fight. Now, he was right to defend his wife. Absolutely. When she jumped in that horrible fight. But I felt like he was too hard. Like he gave him legal advice, like this is gonna get nasty. But this woman is taking his child.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why everyone except for Jordan and Q came down so hard on him for wanting his kid.
That was the one situation where Harper was right.
Because if that was any other way, everybody would talk this black man don't want to take care of his baby.
Right.
Mhm.
So now you
And,
got
and even when Candace jumped into the argument and he was like, mind your business, right? And Mercer, you can't tell you, I ain't trying to talk to her. I'm trying to talk to my wife. She didn't have it. She should have stayed out of it.
She should have stayed out of it. I
Stayed
thought
out.
Shelby was out of pocket.
Yeah.
It was funny the way, because Q was like, she's right, you're right. And then he joked about it with the Will Smith thing, but
Right.
I didn't, and I say to you men, I thought that MMA thing was so weird. Like I didn't get it. It was so opposite of who Merch was.
That
And
was
I
the
know,
point.
and I know he needed something for himself, but that piece never added up for me.
I got it.
I can try to tie it in for you, Joe. If you want to, go ahead.
But that was the whole point of it. That was the whole point of him growing from being basically he was a punching bag through 2 movies and the first part of the series, and that was how he was coming into himself, building his confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that was. That was just showing him coming to himself, building his confidence, and that's basically what that was. So when he got that conversation with Hart, before he would let that slide. But he's at the point where, you can't talk about women like that no more. You can't talk to me or my woman like that.
Right.
And that was just growth on his part.
I appreciate.
I enjoyed it.
I got that part. I just felt like I hate that he had the incident with the Karen in the cab.
That was the tipping point, though. That was the tipping point. I was scared to say.
That was
the tipping point because when he happened to walk up to her and they played all the different scenarios. But the piece that I think, I don't know if they really touched upon it, but it would have touched me, was when the youngest daughter said, Dad didn't even do anything.
Exactly. Right,
Dad didn't even do anything.
Right.
And then so everybody was talking about, we saw what happened to you. We saw what happened to you. And then you see the trailer to the movie and your boys are playing you to the left. And it's like everybody gets to a point where they're just like, nah, I'm not gonna take it anymore. And I can't remember, somebody said it was that dirty ass professor that says you gotta find some way to let it out or they win.
Yeah.
He found his way.
He found his way.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
that's all it was.
I liked how he came into his own and with the MMA, and it's kind of like I've known people who were like, they were not so nice to the point where it's like you see them break. And I think that stopped him from just breaking completely. Just having that outlet, like even when he was fighting, you could just tell he when he was yelling, it's like you getting that aggression out. And as far as like him and Harper talking about it, I hate that they did not show that, because that was something that needed to be addressed. But you got to think about it, even in the the fake movie within the movies, the shows, they have him pictured as the nice guy who pretty much did whatever Shelby wanted whenever
they had a twin peg and as a simp.
Yep.
Exactly. As a simp, exactly.
Yep. So
sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that he got that chance to be like, nah, I'm not that dude. Like he said, I'm that dude. Like he said, now he got to be that dude per se. He's not that just nice guy y'all gonna run over forever. And so he did have some growth. It just kind of took a while.
I was gonna say that Merch didn't see himself though as the simp or the the last man in the group. For whatever reason, that's not how he viewed himself. And like you said, the breaking point was when it was on the movie screen. He's like, wait a minute, this is how everyone views me. Like, I don't view myself like that. I believe he thought of himself, as a stronger, person. And as Joe said, it was just the MMA was just that final area or one way that he could just kind of bring out the aggression and also redefine himself, because he didn't see himself like that. And now he's mad, like, wait a minute, it's embarrassing. And yet, this is the way we view, this is
he really was that guy though. He really was
that guy.
And if you think about it though, if you think about it, we talked about Lance and his hyper masculinity, right? and how he turned into a hoe when he was grieving his wife.
Mm-hmm.
I listed all the traits. Merch protected his wife, took care of his children, you know, was a principal at the charter school, you know, giving back to Black children in the community. Merch, if you think about it, is a man's man. Now,
right.
his version of masculinity didn't manifest in the way Quentin and Lance and Harper's did, right? But when you think about just being a good man through and through, that's Merch.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was it.
Secret.
He was the best man and the best man, honestly.
Yeah.
Yep. What'd you say? What'd you say, LC?
I said he was finally able to keep a secret.
Well, almost he did.
Almost did it.
Yeah. But anyway, so what y'all think? Y'all think we're gonna get another series, or
Malcolm Lee said he's done. Now he said if another writer, because like Robert Townsend did some writing on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Robert directed one of the episodes too.
Yeah, but Malcolm Lee said he is done. He said, it was supposed to be a movie. He created the series, which we thank him and appreciate him for. But as far as he goes, he feels like there's nothing left to tell. Like for now, it's like you said, it's up to you if you want to assume Harper and Jordan ended up together or what, but he closed it out. But I loved it. Can we talk about that last emotional?
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
I really finished when you met the men when they showed up at his house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, when Hart was down and everybody showed up. Yeah. That was a great scene.
Do you guys feel like you have friends like that? Like you have boys that?
Absolutely. I'll tell you. I'll be a little bit vulnerable. I've already said it. I recently went through a divorce, and for 20 years, my whole life was being husband and father. Mm-hmm. So when you get to that point where you're like, okay, it's done. Now it's just time to, get everything finalized or whatever. And you have to transition into a new phase of life that you haven't been in, right? Where you don't have to put children and wife first. You have to put yourself first. That's scary. It's scary. And I remember one of my homeboys who hyper masculine, aggressive, but he is that dude that will always call and check on everybody. He's always there for you when you need him. He called me. He was like, bro, what we going to do? And I just told him. I said, man, I don't even know, man. I'm scared. I was vulnerable enough to say, man, I'm scared. And he was like, I know you are, but I got you. And got me where I was set up. My other homeboys held me down, checking on me. Hey, we ain't finna let you just sit up in that house and mope. You're going to come out here. You're going to do this, that, and the third. And they got me through. So I thought that was a dope scene, but I didn't even think about it in terms of how emotional y'all got about it. Because to me, that's my reality. That's how my brothers hold me down. So I'm glad y'all pointed it out because maybe not everybody has that, but I'm so blessed and unfortunate that I do.
I think I know for myself and women, we do that as sister circles. And my friend, she's on here. LC has done that for me. Like something ain't right. I'm showing up. But to see brothers do that, and I'm being selfish because I'm saying brothers, not just men.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It was the most beautiful thing. A non-spoken conversation of love. They just showed up.
But it takes growth. Because I know when you, like I told y'all, once I was about 38, 39, maybe even 40 before I stopped being stupid, that you realize, like, you know what? I got to have a little bit more foresight and, like, let me meet this cat where he's at. Let me do what I got to do to keep him going. Younger Marv, my homeboys that were younger, that might have got missed, right? But they did this excellent job. Joe, I know you got a crew like that, man. I got a chance to meet your homeboys. I know you do.
Yeah. I definitely got a crew like that. I know they're gonna have my back. If I ever go through anything, they're gonna have my back. I got their back, no matter what. So yeah, It's that's reality. That is reality
Mhm.
for black men out there. That
So
definitely is
you all
reality.
didn't look at that maybe the way women did. Like, I mean, I know men do that, but I just thought that was such a powerful scene
Yeah.
among.
Because we don't see it, because we don't
We don't
see
see it.
hear about it a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, because I
Yeah.
used to tell even just friends, like I'm divorced, and I used to just drop my son off, sit in the parking lot and not go into the barbershop. And I was asked, well, I'm like, well, men don't have a space where they could just go and be men. I mean, what's left? And it's not to say right or wrong. I'm just making a statement and an observation. Women like sports. That's great. So you're not necessarily going to do sports. Women, all the sports, basketball, we do cigars. I mean, where do men go just to be men? And so and I just thought that the barbershop sometimes was just like that last space for them just to go, and I didn't want to go in there, so that's why we women sometimes I looked at that scene like, oh my goodness, they are there, they are still being just men with their brother, and they're able to communicate in a way that the guys know that they're still loved. And remember, they set up the table, they didn't say a word. That was just
Right.
powerful. I think that was just the best scene of the movie.
It
And then
was.
it's like, hey, Hart, yeah, we need a fourth. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And so it was beautiful. It was the best scene in the movie for me. And I pray that all men, have that space, because again, we women, we don't, we always going away to girls' weekend and a spa day, and we just don't really hear the men talking about that. And you know what? You all need it just as much as we do.
I mean, it's always like that. It's always like that. You see the sororities, you see their conventions are super packed, and
Yep.
the fraternities be struggling to try to get guys to register.
Yep.
Again, that's that piece that, and that's why we started conversating. Shout out to Valerie. That's why we started conversating, because we wanted black men, black women to be able to hear one another, communicate, converse, and relate. So you don't have those situations like Harper and Robin, where y'all talking, but y'all not really hearing one another. You're not picking it up. So I thought it was an excellent job. Shout out to Malcolm Lee. Shout out to Robert Townsend. The other directors, I know there's a couple other, I'm missing them. This was just excellent. I'm so glad they put it out. I don't know if we actually need something else. I think we're being greedy, because I just think they put a bow on it. They did outside of Demetrius, they did very good.
Demetrius alone.
Outside of Demetrius, they did.
No, he's right about Demetrius.
He's right.
They did very good with this. And to me, the most emotional scene was when the baby came back, and Robin surprised him with his visitor.
Yeah, was
baby walked in, and he was able to see his daughter. That, and then when they had to say goodbye, and he was begging like, "Please don't go." That right there, that got me.
That was sad.
I went into the ugly cry.
And my thing is, the baby crying, and you just like put your hand down, like, come on, we going. How do you do that? How do you do that?
That was rough.
Anyway, I appreciate y'all. Serenity, thank you. LC, Stacy, thank you. My brother Joe coming to regular on conVersate. This is third show.
Yeah, man, for real.
Third show.
Real.
But,
I'm looking for a paycheck next time, man.
Listen, we ain't made it there yet, dog. You might get a T-shirt or something.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, but
That's fine.
I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all tune in. Make sure y'all go to our YouTube, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. Who did you relate to the most? Who was your least favorite character? Was we too hard on Robin? Did we give anybody too much slack? Who was it? Do you feel like I feel about Demetrius? Let us know. Share this show, and we'll have you next time. Peace. And remember, conVersate stands for communicate, converse, and relate. We'll have you next time. Peace.